The vision and the passion of AOC is to help restore hope and dignity by breaking the poverty cycle in rural Cambodia. Over 85% of the population rely on agriculture to survive, yet many are just not making it. It's incredibly poor. So we realise that to get people out of poverty is not easy. It's a complicated process, and it's not, you can't just throw simplistic one-off projects at it. So what we've discovered that for true transformation, we believe it's got to be physical, it's got to be economic, it's got to be educational, and it's got to be spiritual. So what we do is we try and work in areas and bring all of those four areas to play. And so over the years we've helped hundreds of thousands through our medical clinics. We've helped tens of thousands of school children be educated. I can't count how many families we've helped provide clean water and sanitation. And we've also worked incredibly with churches and leaders to plant churches. And in some of the areas where 20 years ago there was no known churches or Christians, now where Asian Outreach has been working, even the government admits it's over 15% are now fervent Christians. At the end of '89, a few of us went away for a weekend to pray and fast. And I'll never forget it. On the Saturday, a prophetic word came, and it still moves me deeply today. And it basically said, God said, look, I am answering a cry, but actually I'm not answering your cry and your prayer. I'm answering a cry of a people who called out for mercy and found none, but I heard them. I want you to go to Cambodia. I never forget landing in the airport. I just virtually almost burst into tears. The sense of hopelessness and devastation. There were still people being killed, there were hand grenades being thrown into crowds. It was just a terrible place. Any organisations up there were really living in compounds behind barbed wire with security guards. Bullets were being fired at night. You had to be off the streets. It was a dangerous place. And most organisations, to be honest, at that time just stayed within Phnom Penh.
I flew into Cambodia late 90s and it ruined me completely. Even after living in Thailand, working with hill tribes and being very, very familiar with poverty, I was not really prepared for what we saw in Cambodia. I think really in those days it was more of a spiritual impact. There was a darkness and a heaviness that hit me very, very hard. God planted a seed during that trip that I have not been able to shake for 20 years. And God had a purpose for me visiting in those days, and God had a purpose for us to raise up partners and resources to help rebuild and restore Cambodia in a way that would see the kingdom of God planted in places that the enemy had just wreaked havoc on over the years. You know, we're all over the country. There was no infrastructure, no resources. Asian Outreach ran the Boat of Hope, one of the first river ambulances to serve, I think, a community of about 40,000 people in communities all along the Mekong River.
A boat that had a medical clinic on it that went up and down the Mekong into areas that were considered not that safe, but no one was going there. Then we went on to build medical clinics, hospitals.
We opened what I believe was the first maternity clinic outside of Phnom Penh, and the lives that were saved, you know, reducing infant mortality across the country. Biosand water filters and wells and leadership training and skills development and English classes. AO has received a number of gold medals from the Prime Minister's office for the work we have done in this country. We're just happy to go into communities and serve the poor, the marginalized, the outcast, those who have no hope. And it's one of the reasons why we're up in the north here, where few organizations are serving those who desperately, desperately need good news and hope and resources.
About 8 years ago, our Cambodia director at the time heard that big changes would be happening up here in Stung Treng. That this was going to be at the crossroads of a new transport links, both within Cambodia and the surrounding countries. It was reported that Stung Treng would eventually become a gateway city for this whole area. So we came up for a visit and we found really not much was happening. At that stage things were very quiet here, but we loved the people in Songtran and we could see great potential for growth. So we spent time with the local government officials and village leaders to really hear what their needs were. And we began to build relationships and learn from them by helping them with water, sanitation and agricultural projects. Our heart and our vision is to help people in Stung Trem province be able to make most of all the changes that are happening, especially through education. At this Hope Centre, we are committed to providing quality and affordable courses in a warm, friendly and professional environment. We want to provide local people with effective skills for their personal and career opportunities. Education and training that will truly equip, empower and bring hope to Cambodians.
There is a saying, if you want to reap for next year, sow rice. If you want to reap for next 10 years, plant trees. If you want to reap for a whole life, educate people. Restoring hope and dignity by breaking the poverty cycle cannot happen or take place unless we come together to impact the underprivileged communities, which involves equipping them with knowledge and life skills to be role models for their locals. And right now, our focus is water sanitation, wells project, assisting children to school and agriculture, with an overwhelmingly positive response from communities and Cambodian royal government. We are able to go forward with sustainable growth. May our relationship be long, prosperous, abundant now and for generations to come. Thank you and may God bless you.
Partnership is not about just coming to someone and saying, here's a vision, you fund it. It's about saying, let's discover together what God's got for us and let's grow together in this. It's not just partnership developing one vision, but vision partners together, venturing in vision together.